My name is Lucio Zago. I'm Italian, grew up in Switzerland, and I moved to Brooklyn in the early 90s and lived in Williamsburg for 23 years. I wrote and illustrated a graphic novel about Williamsburg. It's a comic book about my personal experiences and the neighborhood's history. I've seen firsthand how it was transformed from a working-class neighborhood to one of the trendiest in America. The idea for this book came when I was working on a short story about the Orthodox Hasidic Jews, how they preserved their centuries-old customs by resisting influences of the outside world, and how they clashed with the hipsters who moved from Manhattan in the mid-1990s to find cheaper rents. Once I had completed it, I realized that there were many more stories to tell. So this book in essence is a collection of short stories about the Italians who settled here in the early 1900s, how they came from the town of Nola in southern Italy, about Domino Sugar, once the greatest sugar refinery in the world, the workers' struggle, and how in the near future it will be turned into a glamorous mini neighborhood for the rich. How in the late 80s, early 90s, rapid gentrification forced artists from the East Village to explore new territories. And eventually they became the gentrifiers themselves. And many more stories. All of this is done by melding historical facts, research, personal accounts, and elements of fantasy, and a black and white style that illustrates the industrial Williamsburg I wanted to portray. Finally, I was fortunate to be able to include photos by Anders Goldfarb, who's been documenting the waterfront, abandoned gas stations, and burned out buildings of Williamsburg and Greenpoint for 3 decades. Thanks to an incredible group of friends and family, I was able to successfully launch a Kickstarter campaign to fund the first printing of this book, which was inspired by the real characters of Williamsburg.